Judge.
Okay.
Okay.
Call to order the Advisory Board Committee of the City of Denison Fairview Cemetery Board. First would be the administration of the oath of office. Is it everybody this time?
It's just the three of you. We just have three. Yeah, we have Mr. McKinney, Judge Groff, and Mayor Pro Tem Adams. So if you three would stand and raise your right hands and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Horace Cross,
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
as a member of the Cemetery Advisory Board
as a member of the Cemetery Advisory Board
for the City of Denison, Texas,
for the City of Denison, Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
Constitution and laws
of the United
of
States
the United States,
and of this state, so help me God.
so help me God.
Okay?
get a volunteer job, you have to subscribe to the bribery oath.
Okay. Bye, thank you.
Oh, Judge, you do have pins? I'm so sorry, I forgot.
Item 2 is to hear any public comments. Anyone signed in to speak? Hearing none, we move along. Item 3A is to receive a report and hold discussion and take action on approving the minutes of the Cemetery Advisory Board meeting of September 10th, 2024. Oh, I think each of you have had an opportunity to see those. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. The motion and second is to approve the minutes of the September 10th meeting. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the minutes are approved. Item 3B. I better get over here. See. Receive report and hold discussion and take action on the appointment of advisory board chair to serve a one-year term. Nominations are now open.
Mr. Chairman, I would nominate Horace Groff to serve as chair of the board.
Second that motion.
Are there further nominations? Somebody speak up. Are there further nominations?
A lot of silence here.
Mr. Chairman, I move. Are there further motion, the nomination cease? Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Nominations are closed. Those of you who would favor Horace Cross signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
Crickets.
Don't expect as much of me as you did the former chair. Okay, I guess the next item would be to select the vice chair. Nominations are now in order for vice chair.
It's on the agenda.
We can put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
So y'all think of who you want.
So you gotta keep me alive till the next meeting. All right, item 4, staff updates. Fiscal year 24-25 projects and events. First off, I want to commend the staff. I attended the wreath lay ceremony at Fairview Cemetery a few weeks back. I don't think the cemetery ever looked any better. They just went beyond the call of duty to extend hospitality and gratitude to the people that were there, and especially those of us that are aged and infirm. And cart ride was much appreciated. But got moved from the cemetery to the south out there because things were in such deplorable conditions. So thank you, staff, for what you did to make that, and I understand they've already sold 100 wreaths for the coming year.
Oh,
So.
wow.
I would like to add to that. The Scouts, I think, did a great job. I picked up a wreath, and I was going to take it around to Jordy's resting place, and the Scout said, well, would you like for me to go with you? And I said, that would be very, very kind of you. So he carried the wreath, and we got to Jordy's marker, and he said, would you like to place it? And I said, yes, I would. And so he handed it to me and stepped back, very respectful, and I did so, and then he walked me back to my car. And I just thought that was so meaningful to me, and that was a part of all of what happened that day. And I'm sure I was one of many that happened to. I just want to say that.
Obviously, I skipped item 3C for meetings for this calendar year.
Sorry, Judge Rock, I interrupted you a second. You forgot to sign your oath.
I signed 2. I'll put the. Let's see, what are some suggested dates in the agenda, in the packet somewhere?
Mhm. Well, I can't see them in the packet, but they're up on the screen, Judge.
Is this,
March 25th, June 24th,
you
September
see the
23rd.
suggested
Mhm.
dates of March,
March 25th, June 24th, September 23rd, and December the 16th.
those are all Tuesdays, I guess. Is that agreeable? What date's that again?
Hold on, I'm about to turn on all yours.
It's up over you.
It's March 20,
Oh, it's already.
oh, it's already there?
Oh,
It would help if
Oh,
you guys
that's
could
good.
see your screen time. It's at the very back.
Oh, might help turn those
Yeah,
on.
I can do any of
There we go.
either one of
You were
those.
cooking with gas.
There we go.
I think option B, because of 11/18 instead of 12/16.
I'm sorry.
She likes the alternate dates because of the November date instead of the
Okay.
December date. Is that correct? I can do any of them.
Yes, I would prefer B,
The alternate dates,
yes.
Which is,
it's up there, Judge, February 25th, May 27th, August 26th, and November 18th are the alternate dates.
so you prefer,
Yeah,
3 of them are
this is
okay.
the one
and
I
November
prefer
would be
right there,
better.
and there it is up there.
18th.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the alternate date schedule?
I'll make- Go ahead.
I move that we take option B.
Second.
Discussion, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
None opposed? The alternate date schedule is adopted. All right. Mr. Egger, are you the spokesperson at this point?
Not today, sir. We're gonna call Victor Ricano.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Advisory Board Chair and board members. My name is Victor Ricano, the cemetery foreman. I'll be speaking today of some projects that we have completed in the fiscal year 2024 to current, and projects that are pending as well that we have not started or that we have not yet finished. First, we have some planters that we were able to plant by the Mulberry Bridge at the back of Peril Lane. We had these planters installed and painted and covered with riprap, and had some mums planted for better appearance. As you can see on the first picture on your left of the screen. The second item was we were able to obtain a portage golf cart garage to fit the Fairview Cemetery golf cart that we have out there, and better house it rather than the chapel, because we had it there for a very long time. This garage was at T-Bar off of 69, so we were able to mobilize it from point A to point B, and we were able to take the insides out, and now Sherry can park her golf cart safe and sound with no security issues. We were able to build up ramp for it too. Next, staff and I were able to prevent some erosion on the road at Pear Lane, which is classified as 8MG on our maps. And we laid down some acrylic, some riprap, some hay, and fertilized it, and again, made it look better and try to prevent the road work back there that was deteriorating away. Next, we have some flower beds up front on the side and main gate that we were able to rip the bushes because they were dying and old vegetation, and just it kind of looked bad for the appearance, but we were able to clean it up because we were going into the fall weather season, and we were able to remove it and have it look better. We were also able to obtain some trash cans that at one point were on Main Street, passed over to our other division parks, and now ended up at Magnolia and Oakwood. We used to have 55-gallon drums, which were not very attractive, but now we have these trash can receptacles. Cleaned them up, flat black, spray paint, and voila, there you go. We were able to remove a very heavy and tall tree at the very front of the south gate, once again, Pear Lane. I would invite you all to come by one day and look at it how it looks now. I don't have before and after pictures. The time and slides were limited, but again, I would invite all of you to come and check it out and how it looks nice. It's mulched, it's cleared out. You can never tell there was a tree there. Next is a list of pending projects that we have not yet finished nor started, but have planned and not executed on moving forward because of other projects that we have been doing. We will be removing bushes around the chapel and digging up the soaker hoses and installing an irrigation line. And for better appearance, I'm gonna be placing cacti for non-heavy maintenance, because these bushes have been there forever and a day. And so, not that they were well maintained, it's just there's something out there that had just been eating away, and it's just a change of scenery. So we're gonna put some Pebble Brook, rock down, irrigation, and some nice, beautiful flowers and plants. Next is a mini walkway bridge. I'm sure that you guys aren't aware of our map layout, but we call it Block 3. But this bridge, as you can see the middle picture, metal pipes, they were just old and unsafe to walk across. We have built a wooden platform. We're laying piers, and it will be laying there nice and sturdy for anybody to walk from one point to the north point of that block. Last, we're gonna be updating the curb by the chapel, which has been deteriorating, as you can see on the third picture on your right, with a tin horn underneath it. We're gonna cut it, and we're gonna cover it with asphalt for better drainage, and better appearance. So we're not going to cover the whole road, just that curb, with the help of a foreman, Bobby, at Streets. And that's what's been going on. I didn't list all the projects because there's other smaller ones, and again, my time and the slides were limited, but we're always busy, keeping hard at work. And Judge, I appreciate your acknowledgement on our hard work out there. Thank you.
Any questions?
I have a question, Judge.
Okay.
I have a question about R&R Cemetery, HW.
Microphone.
Question about R&R
Yes, sir.
Cemetery, H.W. Wilson, born 1833. That was on our agenda at one time and just dropped off. I wonder what happened to that situation.
You and I had spoke on that one.
I missed it.
Hello, Chip Egger, Parks Administrative Superintendent. We had spoke on that at a different cemetery advisory board, and that specific person was not identified. We could not find that marker at that cemetery. We looked and looked and did not find that particular marker out there. Okay.
I missed it.
Okay. Can I answer any other questions on that?
No.
Okay.
I am so excited about the trash cans. That's so wonderful. I mean, really, that just,
Just keep in mind, those are only at Magnolia and Oakwood. We only had access to a limited amount of that, but they're not at Fairview. But those cans were just lingering loose at those cemeteries, so those were perfect for those two cemeteries.
well, I missed that.
Move on to the fence project.
Good afternoon, Cemetery Advisory Board Chair and Cemetery Advisory Board. Again, Chip Egger, Parks Administrative Superintendent. Everybody is well aware that we are trying to get a new fence built around a couple of our cemeteries. We opened this up for bid several weeks ago. We've had a lot of interest to date, at least as of this morning. We've had 18 packets picked up. We did restructure how the bid went. Of course, as y'all are all aware, we had opened this up for bids last year, did receive a bid, and of course it was outside of our budget, and there were no ways to move forward with that bid with the way that request for proposals was structured. So we restructured it this year, and if I believe all of you have a handout in front of you that's going to be a little bit easier to see in front of you than up on a screen. So I want to bring to your attention a couple of the things that we had done with this. So we removed this as a 6-foot fence and turned the base bid into a 4-foot fence, again hoping to bring prices down. We removed a couple of the columns. When I say a couple, I believe we removed 9 from the base bid. And we also removed the mow strip from the base bid. We removed sodding from the base bid and a couple of other small components that we feel that cemetery staff can handle. We did reintroduce those components that we removed as bid options. Again, we do want to move forward with a 6-foot fence. We do want to have all of those columns, but more importantly than those, we do want to move forward with a fence around these cemeteries. So by breaking these out as bid options, we are hoping to get some bids that are going to fall within our construction budget, and then allowing us to move forward as budget allows with some of these bid options. Another thing that we have done to hedge our bets on this is if I can draw your attention to the yellow column where it talks about the individual unit pricing. So it is a bid requirement, and this was brought up at a prior cemetery advisory board. We really wanted to be able to put this together on a per foot basis. So if you look at that yellow column, individual unit pricing is required to bid on this. So as we move forward and we have a number that may be just outside of our budget, we can tailor that down to within budget within these per unit pricing. For example, well, let's look at, and this will be on your first page, let's look at item number 2.202. It'll be around the middle of your page. And that talks about the lineal footage of the fence, so how long the fence is going to be. We have that at 3,479 lineal feet. If the total in that comes in above what we can afford, we have the ability to start shrinking this down. So maybe remove the portion along Highway 84 or some other component just to bring this within budget so that we can move forward with this project just as soon as we possibly can. I believe I shared we have already had 18 packets picked up. This is scheduled to be opened on January 28th. So we're really looking forward to this bid opening. Another thing that's worth mentioning is there is still a lot of support for this project. We are still, within the past several weeks, still receiving donations for this project. So it's a very highly thought of and very supported project. So we're really looking forward to moving forward with that. With that, I stand for any questions that you may have.
Chip, how many packets got picked up the first time around? Is 18 sign that there's more interest now than there was last summer, or?
That's a great question. There is more interest. We did not receive as many as 18 on the last time. I don't have that number with me, but I believe it was closer to 12 or 13 was the interest that we had last time. And we still continue to receive interest in that. I believe we had yesterday there were 16 packets picked up, and today it was 18. So it's continued interest in the project.
How is this publicized? Obviously, newspapers are a thing of the past, but by law, you still have to
Yes.
use it for some legal purposes. But
It was publicized in the newspaper, in the Herald Democrat, for several weeks in the Sunday edition, and it is also publicized on the City of Denison's website. And there are also several national. Best description is bidding services that have also picked it up and then have distributed it nationally. So we've had interest as far away, as far as I know of, as far away as Louisiana that are interested in building this fence. That's in this particular bid package.
Do we have anything out there to show
I'm sorry, could you speak into the microphone, please?
do we have anything to show the relationship between Magnolia and Fairview, the railroad track? Do we have anything to show where the railroad track?
We don't have anything prepared today, but there are graphics that we could put together that show the proximity of Fairview Cemetery to Magnolia Cemetery. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes, we could put something like that together to share. Those are only divided by the railroad track. Those are really just one on the other side of the. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
it'd be nice if you at least had an easement across there for moving your equipment back and forth when you
It would.
shouldn't have to go around 84 and back down Juanita Drive.
Yes. And that is something that we have recently, I believe that this board is aware of, we have recently taken back on the opening and closing of the graves at Magnolia Cemetery. So an easement would be very nice to have. But we do have the appropriate transportation equipment and the appropriate equipment to do that now, where in years past it would have been a much larger challenge.
When do the bids need to be back?
January 28th at 2 p.m. All bids need to be to the city clerk's office, and we will open the bids directly after that at 2 p.m. on January 28th.
So we might have further feedback at our February meeting.
Yes, we will definitely have feedback at the February meeting,
I'm excited.
as we are.
Well, there's not a chance it would ever come under bids. That we could go back
We're hopeful, and that's, again, why we put them back in as bid options. We all have a vision of what we would like that fence to be, and we've left ourselves the road to get to that vision with these bid options. And we can really just kind of pick and choose which way we decide to move forward within our funds.
But that decision will not be made until after our February meeting, right?
This board will be very involved in the decision, yes.
That's good.
It'd just be nice to know what the options cost
Yes.
and go back to certain entities and see whether or not if we, difference between a 4-foot fence and a 6-foot fence, we may get some interest in
Yes.
helping us raise a little bit of money for that difference or something like that. Just like to have a little time to work it. I'm not sure it's gonna be possible, but,
We'll all have a little bit better idea, a little bit closer to the end of this month for sure.
So no decision would be final unless we were aware of everything, right?
That's accurate.
appreciate all your work on it.
Thank you so much.
As I look back at the letter that some of us sent out, it said the Cemetery Advisory Board and the city of Denison are engaged in this project. I had a brief conversation with the mayor, and of course, I know he's got a lot of things on his plate, but he was gonna see if he could set up something with city manager to see what, if any, assistance that the city could, you know, if we need a couple $100,000 next time.
If there's
If
no
we
more,
had a competent city council member on this board, we might get a lot done.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Well, I hope this is a better time to bid. Something went haywire back there. Mr. Egger, is it safe to assume that the engineering and architectural services the city paid for, or did it come out of the funds been collected?
Yes, the architectural services were paid for out of the donations that we have received for this project.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
And that was, okay.
I have a question.
yes.
Okay, all the monies that you all, I mean, that is coming here to this building, so to speak, is it drawing interest somewhere?
It's in Bitcoin.
Goodness. I can't speak to how the city invests funds, so I won't be able to give an accurate answer on that. Amanda, if you have.
That would be for our accounting.
Yes, if that's something that you would like for us to look into and speak to it at a future advisory board meeting, I'd be happy to add that to an agenda.
I think that would be important because that's a lot of money that was raised, and I'd like to know, you know, if, I'm sure the city's doing the right thing, but it would be nice to be informed on that.
I'm also very confident. We've got a team of extremely smart accountants, so I'm sure that they're doing good things.
Okay, great.
I think a lot of local governments take advantage of the state treasury and they call it tax pool, where the money's combined with all participating governments, water districts, cities, counties, school districts. And they've had good returns over the years. I'm not familiar with it currently, but I would think that's where the cities is. They've always been pretty frugal in trying to manage
Great.
and just keep enough money in the bank to pay the bills. Well, I've turned so many papers over.
On the screen,
It just says staff updates.
right here.
Oh, I thought that's what we just had.
Well, we
You
had
got some more?
item C, cemetery office visitor hours.
Okay.
Signature.
Come ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. My name is Amanda Parsons. I'm the Director for Parks and Recreation. And the staff, we have hopes of providing a more safe environment, something that can provide some daily structure for our administrative staff of one. She has a lot of responsibilities on her plate, and so we want to be able to provide her some organization and structure, the ability to pre-plan her day so that she can maximize her time and work efforts. In doing that, we have considered the potential of creating cemetery office hours. It is still developing, so we don't have a handout for you today. Really, there's no action item. This is a discussion on what you think may work, any ideas that you may have. We do have a couple of options that we have kind of discussed amongst staff on what we think may be beneficial for both the public and our administrative staff that's there at the cemetery that receives the public. So I'll go over a few of those. Again, we don't have those in writing, so I'll try to just make it really brief. So our first option would be to create a walk-in, more morning to afternoon, 8 to 3-ish, with at late afternoon, 3:30 to 5 appointment settings. We do have some concerns because that is generally the time where she's alone on site. And so there's no real support, if anything, is needed, which has been concerns in the past. Our second option would be to kind of flip that, where we have the appointment hours in the morning and the walk-ins in the afternoon, but they would stop at about 3, which is when our field staff would leave. That would provide her some more dedicated time in the afternoon when she would be more alone. In order to capitalize on some software updates, historically, we found ourselves in a position where we didn't adjust with changing priorities, and that is more software. So we were very outdated, still paper. We have a lot of missing data that Sherry has been working on bringing up to par. That dedicated time for her, as far as what we're looking for, gives her the ability to really focus on getting that system where it needs to be the most beneficial for the people coming out to visit and for herself as far as what she can provide the public when they need it. A third option would be a cumulative instead of a Monday through Friday with a consistent of either morning or afternoon appointment basis would be a combination, potentially Monday through Wednesday, one option, Thursday through Friday, another. It just provides the benefit for individuals to select what works best for them, whether that's morning or afternoon. Another option would be kind of a 50-50 instead of a 1 or 2 hour here or there per day. Would be more of a 4 hour. It lets her capitalize where she can capitalize as far as time and the need for certain aspects that arise. Now, with all of these, we want to make sure that everybody understands that we will take this on a case-by-case basis. So if someone comes in and it's not a walk-in time frame, Sherry will make the best decision for that individual, depending on the circumstances, to help them where we can possibly help them. This is really just to assist her in some daily structure. So at this time, there's no action. It's really just kind of thoughts and ideas and discussion on what you think may work, any ideas that you may have, so that we understand what we should consider in moving forward. Yes?
Any coordination between the field staff and her office with security rotation?
As far as them working the same schedules? Is that what we're?
As far as them working some type of schedule out where they check to make sure she's
Okay.
safe, I mean.
So they do come in early. Of course, their job functions are very different in order to manage. I'll let you speak to the dynamic of what they do prior to when Sherry starts her day, or Victor. What I will say is that we have implemented some procedures, such as a camera system that affords her a little bit of safety, and we're still exploring other options that have the potential to enhance that. such as some infrastructure development to create a wall similar to the water department back here where we can take people in and provide that comfortability on her end. But that's still developing, so we want to try to continue to move forward and pre-think what this looks like before we can reach out, because that does require some modifications to the building and things of that nature, funding, et cetera. So
She does keep that office door locked, correct?
She does.
And you ring to get in?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there any security, any cameras pointing out towards where she parks or anything, to where she knows she's safe when she walks out that door in the evening, or?
She is shaking her head yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just further trying to enhance her comfortability and safety in addition to being able to maximize her work effort. So she is a one-person team. It takes a lot to bring something that was stuffed in boxes with no organization, that was hand-type printer, to a digital age of computer with actual software that we have just implemented over the last year. And so developing that and bringing that into where we need requires a lot of effort and time, and she doesn't have that. We are exploring volunteers with Austin College. We're exploring potential internships as well as part-time hours and things like that to give her some assistance. But this is just that next level of assistance that would provide her both aspects of safety as well as time commitment and work.
Well, she's put in thousands and thousands of documents. Yeah, tens of thousands of documents.
Yes.
I assume all that data is stored off-site. I mean, her digital data is in the cloud somewhere, or?
What this, you want to speak to the software?
You'd hate for that to disappear.
I'm very new to the software, so I'm going to let one of them that is a little bit more experienced. They forefronted the efforts of getting that up and running. So, go ahead.
Good afternoon. So as y'all are aware, we have migrated over to a software called SemSites. SemSites is a this generation technology where we were migrating from several generations ago technology, a lot of paper, and then which the paper is actually the easier thing to migrate. What we were finding was some of the antiquated digital things that we had trouble making the migration from our records into SemSites. So for example, as a single record would migrate from our records, only a portion of that would migrate into SemSites, and there is no way to log or check to see which portions made it to SemSites. So Sherry is going through these 14,000 plus burial records that we have for just for Fairview Cemetery, and double checking these for against our antiquated software, which is still searchable but not for very long. The support for that is its days are numbered, so we will only be able to search that data for a very short amount of time. So Sherry is being dedicated in going through burial record by burial record, referencing back to our old system and making sure that all of these records have transferred. And she is finding that, and if I'm wrong on this, Sherry, throw something at me, but I believe you're finding about 1 out of 3 are transferring over accurately, leaving 2 or 3 out of 4 maybe she is having to go back and add the rest of the record. So if we're talking 14,000, 15,000 actual burial records, she's looking at somewhere between 40 and 50,000 records that she is going to have to manually move, that there was no way to put into the migration process with SemSites. When she can focus in on her time, she's able to move 80, 100, maybe 120 records a day, and you can work the math on that, how long it'll take to get to that 40 or 50,000 that could potentially still need to move to have a perfectly functional SemSite software. These were things that were unforeseen whenever we signed with SemSites. They knew the records that we had. What they weren't aware of were the embedded files within our old system, and there was no way to extract those and move those directly into SemSites. Those are manual move only. Is that relatively accurate, Sherry? Good deal. So that's where the focus time comes in. So those are the two factors that Amanda was speaking about. So there's the security portion of Sherry being there between 8 in the morning and 5 or 5:30 at night. Our maintenance staff gets in at 6:30 in the morning and works until 3:30. So they get in, and their days, as Amanda had said, their days start a little bit different with their maintenance tasks. Being able to get ahead of those in the morning is paramount. And that has them leaving earlier in the day. We don't have enough cemetery staff to shift that to where we have some maintenance staff come in the morning and then some come in a little bit later to stay beyond that for safety reasons. With the minimal amount of staff that we have out there, we don't have enough staff to split them up. So it's a 6:30 to 3:30 for maintenance, and Sherry is 8 to 5:30. So that, again, those two concerns are giving her the ability to dedicate for that data transfer, and also her safety there in the times when there's not other staff that she could call.
Sherry, my original question though, is the data, once you enter it, is stored off-site?
It's a cloud-based software, completely cloud-based.
Okay.
And it's automatically backed up. Every single thing I do, like if I accidentally delete a record, I can't back up and go get it back. I have to call them. So, yeah, it's automatically backed up, and it's,
So are these records integrated with the whole city of Denison in some way, shape, or form? Is this the same system that the city operates on?
It's a different system, but it is operated cloud-based through, really you would access it through the internet. So it is stored off-site. I'm sorry, I missed the point of the question.
That's fine. I just know that Sherry's
Yes.
doing an incredible job out there, a lot of work, and
Yeah.
you only want to do that once.
Definitely. In fact, this board could access on the user end just by going to the City of Denison's website, and you can access SEM sites and look up loved ones, how to get to any grave that we have out there. So.
Thank you.
Back to this deadline you're facing with the old system and no longer being serviced. Sherry, with the schedule that you're on now, will you be able to meet that deadline? Does the city need to look at some? No, that's not what I'm asking. Do they need to supply you with part-time help in order to meet, so those records are not lost forever?
That's an option that we're exploring as well, is additional help.
hopefully they will not be lost forever. I've done my own backups of a lot of things. For instance, placing all of the old Access database, which is the old system. It only runs on Microsoft 2016, which is going to be completely unsupported very soon. It's backed up in Excel. We're not going to lose it. It's just not going to be quite as convenient to grab it.
Oh, okay.
I may have misspoke.
Well, I think as you schedule those visitors hours, you need to be mindful that we're in the service business, and we need to do what we can to accommodate our customers out there. Kind of walk me through it. Funeral home calls you 3 o'clock today and says the family wants to come out and buy some plots for a funeral on Saturday. How does that work?
So what I will say is that depending on, so this won't be a fast turnover. This will be something that we push content out so people become aware that this change is coming. We will coordinate with funeral homes, we will place signage, we'll do advertisement, et cetera. So it's not something that we're looking to do, right away. This is something that we have time to develop on. Of course, we want to move fairly quickly so that she has that time frame in order to do what she needs to do. But as we discussed, this will be a totality of the circumstance. So just because it is listed as a by appointment, she will have the ability to modify where she determines she needs to do that for the public. And so it won't be one of those things where we just shut our doors and close our ears and go away. We will be mindful of the public in those circumstances.
Thank you.
So really all looking for is, do you have any suggestions or ideas of things that you think will work or will not work? So that we understand when we do implement an action of change, we understand what direction we're moving into, whether we want to do no walk-ins or appointments and maintain a current course, or whether or not we think this is something that has potential, and do we think this option versus this option would look better for the public. That's really the feedback that we're looking for. We have, over the last couple of weeks, come up with 7 or 8 different options, and they continue to turn over as we try to think of what is most beneficial for all parties involved. So that's what we're seeking today from the board, if you have anything.
I would think that, you know, if you cut the time off, you know, at 3:30 when the field staff leaves or whatever, and then you have office time to input your records or whatever, you know, you can advertise that and publicize that, that's the times that you're available for walk-ins, and then after that, it's appointment only, I guess. You could set up appointment only kind of thing after those hours. I mean, I don't know what.
Our current hours posted on the door are 8:30 to 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
And I rarely ever get anyone who comes and even buzzes after 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So people are pretty used to 4:30, this would be taking an hour back. But we do have everything posted on the door
Mm-hmm.
and on the bulletin board.
I think to take the lead from you, Sherry, you're the one out there all the time.
Yeah.
What works best for you?
I've tossed out all kinds of ideas.
Most of the options have come from Sherry.
And keeping in mind, it's very important because it is very client-driven.
Sure.
My clients are very important, and I know that when they come up and ask me a question, they are out there, they may have come in from Missouri.
Sure.
You know, they want to know where a grade is. They don't want to be told, I can't help you. If they hit that buzzer, even though it says it's closed, I'm probably going to say, may I help you? You know, but we're just trying to get a structure, because the structure right now is not allowing for any downtime, any heads down work, administrative work time. Where I can't pick up where I left off because it's a lot more complex than it looks, the research.
I personally think it's easier to have a fairly standard hours. Like, you know, walk in 4 days a week at this time and whatever, and then maybe flip it on a Friday or a Monday, saying, if they say, well, I can't make it, you know, you say, well, we do different hours on a Monday, but because everybody else that you're interfacing with kind of gets used to you being available at certain hours, it's kind of easier to have a standard. But that's my own opinion.
What kind of skill set would it require for a part-time person that
It would be
somebody
teachable.
data entry type stuff, or?
We did have some previously that was assisting, just funding, so we're trying to explore being resilient with our options, which is why we've reached out to Austin College for potential internships and volunteers, but I think what we need from that position is doable with green skills.
So all your data is in Access now, or not?
No, unfortunately, no, it's not. The majority of it is, it's in an access database by Microsoft. The rest of it's still in paper
Okay.
and,
And that's always gonna be the case, the paper's gonna be there, but, you don't happen to have the schema for the database? Okay. That's just the work I did, but, yeah, I mean, you can take that and you can dump it into SQL Server, you can dump it into, a current version of Access, whatever,
we tried that, it wouldn't work. It said, the Microsoft 2016 was that was the part we couldn't get over. They tried to change my computer to VDI, and I lost the database, and I lost all the QuickBooks, and the things that are my sources for information. But once I get cleared of the access, the
just saying there may be other ways to skin that cat as far as, if you had a person from Austin College taking computer science or whatever, new databases or whatever, if you could get it into a structure that the new software you could import from, then maybe you could get it done in the matter of a month or two rather than, it's just data. As long as it's not encrypted in the current system, you can get it out and you can play with it, you can put it in different fields, whatever. Just a thought. Unfortunately, I've forgotten more about that work than.
You want to come volunteer?
No. I left that business for a reason. I'm getting too old. But it is possible.
Okay, I appreciate it very much.
Sure, I appreciate your attitude toward client services. We need to devise some system where at need, families can contact somebody with Fairview, or Magnolia Cemetery and conduct their business. I'm not suggesting that you ought to forward the phone to your house and answer their calls, but if they leave a message on your system, that somebody ought to check it now and then to see what the problem is and what we can do to relieve it. Well, good luck. You've got a challenge. That's why they gave you the job.
The next one will be fun to talk about then.
Item 4D, we're going to clean up this place.
All right, so as we just discussed, management of cemeteries is a very difficult task just because it is sensitive in nature. Unfortunately, over time, the same as our antiquated software, we have placed ourselves in a position now to make some difficult decisions, but they're necessary. And so that is what has got us to this point of considering what the staff is calling a sweep program or a cleanup program. The family members and visitors that come out, they have expectations, and we are stewards of cemeteries, so we need to be able to provide those expectations, and it is getting increasingly harder for many reasons. Some of those expectations are that we maintain mowing and weed eating to the best of our ability to present an atmosphere that is welcoming for those grave sites. That is getting very hard to manage for Victor and his staff, because we have placed ourselves in a position over time where we have not enforced ordinance regulations, which has led us to this. In addition to that, there are expectations for family members and their grave sites for us to control encroachment. Everybody wants to have their area and be able to maintain that for their family members and their loved ones, and we want to be able to continue to provide those levels of expectation. Where that has led us now is because we have not necessarily enforced all regulations across the board as far as ordinance on grave sites, we now need to get to a point where we can reset that dynamic. They are very sensitive conversations because they all involve emotion of loved ones, and we recognize that, and that's snowballed a little out of control. So we want to kind of reel that back in and reset that, and that's going to take some effort and some planning.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. So we have many grave sites. I don't have any pictures. Victor, do you have any pictures on your phone? Hopefully we'll be able to show you some pictures, but there are a lot of accessories and items, things that people want to bring out for their loved ones that do not meet ordinance, that would generally be enforced for removal. And it becomes hard when you have somebody that is very aggressive in nature, and we have staff that are a little bit more withdrawn for that situation that becomes out of control. Well, then you have the situation next to them that becomes very hard to enforce because we're not enforcing the first one. So as part of this safety and operations and moving this into the future and what this looks like for us to be able to provide both what these gravesite family members expect of us and our staff expect of us, very, large as far as, how far out they go. They become encroaching on other grave sites and other family members, of different, individuals. Thank you. We're not trying to create a hard situation. What we're trying to do is create the best environment for everybody. And it becomes very hard when we don't enforce. We've placed ourselves in this position, and it's our responsibility to now move out of that and create and reset that dynamic so that we can move forward. What does that look like? We need to create an action plan on what a solid program looks like with implementation and pre-planning for this sweep program. So what we anticipate and what we would like your feedback on is what that looks like so that we can minimize as much challenge as possible. We understand that there will be complaints, but we would like to create this action plan and bring it back to this board so that we can gain that buy-in and support so that when we get to that level, there is some understanding for the community. We are looking at signage, and this will be placed far in advance, 6+ months in advance if we want to maximize as much as we possibly can. We will advertise it in as many places as we can as far as social media, the website, and potentially local newspapers. We want to try as much as we can to get private individual notification out, especially to those that are our frequent flyers as far as a lot of issues so that we can kind of forefront those complaints and any potential on-site visits. We are looking at potentially turning over Fairview in 6 to 8 weeks. We will start in an isolated area, and we will slowly work through these different, what's the term I'm looking for? Plots. So that we can kind of maintain a little bit of control and structure as we do this. Once we start an area, we will finish that area. And the reason that we are going in that direction is that there's going to be a lot of this versus that. And we want to be able to say that we have kind of pre-thought out what this looks like. So we want to make sure that we start and finish in an area and that we continue that on without any breaks in that structure as much as possible. Of course, we will have staff that will be, they'll have to do interments and things of that, so there will be short delays, but we hope to start this at the beginning of 2026, so we have plenty of time for planning and education, those adjustments of media, signage, etc. And then this will hopefully allow us to provide individual enforcement along the way, and we will do an annual sweep moving forward every year at the beginning of the year that will kind of reset these tones. It will help to kind of structure the operations. It will give us the ability to mow and weed eat the way that the community expects us to be able to do that, as also being able to capitalize on our staff and their ability to do that. It'll be able to control the encroachment, and then also it will kind of set the dynamic. Sherry has conversations when people purchase plots, and those conversations start as far as educating them on what they can and cannot do. We reach a point where we kind of lose that battle. This allows us to gain that back. Not referring to a battle as far as gaining that, but it helps us to kind of set that expectation for everybody.
Okay, when someone comes to buy a plot or to arrange for the burial, can we have something printed that can pass out to them so that they know what's?
We need to get Denison, right now I just hand out a very simple, here are our general rules and regulations.
Okay, you do have.
Same as excerpts of our
Ordinances.
the ordinances, yeah.
Of course, I've found on our park behind me, signs don't seem to matter anymore.
If I could comment from here, of course, we do hand those out, and we do make that awareness to the family members that we're dealing with. The larger issues are from the friends and other family members that we don't deal with in the cemetery they don't get these handouts and they don't have this information, but they know that their friend or their loved one is out there, and they want to pay their respects in the way that they know how, and they're not aware that it's outside of our ordinances. That's the larger issue.
Well, the issue is how we choose to pay our respects. I may put a wreath there and it stays whatever the allowed time is, and it's gone. But if all of a sudden I become a devil worshiper and I want to put incandescent lights out there and sound system, and all of a sudden everybody around is offended, so that, I think that's what you're trying to control, is those unreasonable things that, and of course, all rules are made for the exceptions.
Disc golf net was my favorite.
The what?
Someone installed a regulation size disc golf net on
Oh.
the grave the very next day, so yeah, that's a good.
It's very hard, though, to say when you have an ordinance, what falls outside of that ordinance and what doesn't. So when, I mean, our ordinance are there, and yes, we completely acknowledge that some of them are circumstantial, and you go off of that, right? Because people are placing things for their loved ones, but you have to consider what is a reef for you, maybe a disc golf course for someone, and then you get into the gray in between. That gets very hard to manage.
It's like code
No,
enforcement.
I think you have to be very clear, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of wiggle room. Because the more wiggle room there is, the more people you're gonna have arguments with.
Yes.
It's gotta be pretty clear what the rules are and kind of stick to them.
And we're trying to get to a point where the ordinances and what they outline are what we stick to.
Yeah.
But we have to have that reset in order to get there, because it's very far off right now.
So the ordinance needs to be rewritten? Is that, no?
No, the ordinance is fine.
Just need
It's
to
just
enforce the ordinance.
yes, we need to get to a reset of what exists now on site. Because there are a lot of things that don't fit within what should be allowed because of the enforcement side of things.
So the law's in place, you just need the administrative rules to enforce it.
We just need confident individuals that are supported, and they are, and we need to take that step forward with that driving effort to get there. So we need to clean it up.
How many years has this been in effect?
I don't think we've ever done a cleanup.
No,
Of
no,
the
no,
ordinance.
I meant the rules.
Oh, the ordinances?
Not the ordinances, I'm sorry.
I do not know what the date of the ordinance are, but I can find out.
No, that's okay. I mean, I found out it was 20 years ago that we did something we shouldn't have done later.
Yeah.
That we didn't know at the time, you know.
Part of that comes,
Planted a tree, you know, weren't supposed to do that.
and part of that comes down to the fact that we do just have one person that is administrative and trying to get that person and taking those efforts. But they also have so many other things that they're working on, such as outdated software. And now Sherry has to pick up and move to a new software. And so this will be an active effort for the field staff, for the administrative staff, for the executive level staff to put our feet on the ground and be a team effort in what this looks like moving forward.
Good luck.
Thank you. If you have suggestions, we would love them.
Well, we don't have enough staff for when something gets placed out there or something to go, tell them that they can't have that, or even just to remove it, just the time to remove it.
Yes.
Would be timely.
How long do you normally leave flowers? I mean, I know the weather conditions probably affected some.
72 hours.
72 hours? Okay.
There is some flexibility with that within the ordinance to allow staff, actually the superintendent, the ability to make a judgment call as to when they become wilted or unsightly. They can stay a little bit longer, but all ornamentation, flowers throughout the cemetery, the key is that they must be in an approved container. Any ornamentation at that cemetery should be in an approved container. So many of you are familiar with vases or areas on headstones that make allowances for those. Many don't have those, and there are specifics written within the ordinances to place approved containers in approved places, and they are clearly written in our ordinances. If you would like to place flowers or appropriate ornamentation that's not vulgar at gravesite. So the big issue is just ornamentation that may become unsightly, even if it is in an approved container, has stayed too long, and it needs to be removed and refreshed, which would be for the family or loved one to do. Or things that are placed outside of the ordinance, that is maybe something that is laid on what would be the grass, which Amanda was talking about. The challenges that Victor and his team have with mowing and weed eating, those are things that really slow that process down. If you're having to go around flowers that are placed on the grass, that's you can't mow over that and you can't weed eat that. And we have gone away from herbicides to deal with those, just for the unsightliness of that. So that leaves a very large challenge for the maintenance team to try and maintain around these things that are outside of the ordinance. They should not be in those places. They should be within an approved container. Did I answer that question?
Any other business come before this group? Again, welcome to Mr. McKinney and Ms. Adams. We look forward to your service here. If there's nothing further, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.